Well, welcome to our third summer 2020 student summer success webinar entitled Online Environment and Best Practices. Again, as a reminder, we're recording this, and maybe Natalie, you can put the link in the chat. So if it's your first session you're attending, this is our third, but if it's your first, you can definitely go look at the other ones that we've recorded. Before we start, please allow me to acknowledge that we are located on the beautiful territories of the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam nations, and that's where our campus are located on. Always a privilege to work on these territories, for me anyway. I'm Caroline Desbâtis, the Associate Dean for Business Administration, School of Business and Media. And along with Natalie Anderson. Natalie, you're not showing, but if she was showing, she would give you a wave. We can see her name. Natalie's an intern with the school. We'll be helping out with this session tonight. Throughout the session, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. You can see the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, so just use that platform instead of the chat. We might post, oh, hi, Natalie, there you are. Hello.
Hi.
Instead of using the chat, use the Q&A and we'll respond to your questions as we go. These sessions are really here to help you be successful at BCIT in the fall, whether you're a returning student or a new student. The session tonight on Tuesday is mostly for PTS. We do have, we start off on Monday from 5 to 6 with full-time students, but we're very, again, excited to be repeating this for PTS students. Your facilitator today will give us a wave. It's David Tikkanen, instructor in the marketing department and program head for the tourism management program. David has been with BCIT for 20 years. So I'm assuming there's not many questions that he cannot answer. I'm fairly new, so he's definitely the more seasoned person on this panel. It joins us today with two graduates of the marketing management diploma program tourism option. Maddie, there you are. Hello. Maddie now works for Tourism New Westminster. Really excited. And Maria, who also is a graduate who now works for BCIT Applied Research Department. Today, you're going to get a tour of the Learning Hub. You're going to learn a few tricks about making sure that you use the Learning Hub efficiently, about time management, although we will talk about some of these in later sessions. I'll remind you at the end that next week's session is about online virtual teams, which you will be working with, and I think there'll be a bit of talk about that today as well. So I think I've talked enough, so I'm going to turn it over to you, David. And again, if you have any questions, just make sure you put them in the Q&A, and I'll see you probably at the end. Go ahead, Natalie, if you want to share the. Perfect.
David, you're on mute right now.
Great. Okay, now I'm not muted. Here we go. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm glad that you've made the investment to continue your learning at BCIT. I think it's been be a smart move for you. And then also investing some time before your course starts and learning how to use the Learning Hub more effectively, and also hear some tips from past students and current students at BCIT on how to engage best with learning in an online environment. So if we could have the next slide. We'll just go over a quick agenda tonight. What we're going to do is we're going to give you an overview of the Learning Hub, and you're going to hear the term Learning Hub quite a bit. Some instructors will call it the Learning Hub, and some instructors may call it D2L, which is an abbreviation for its former name, which was Desire to Learn. So some people may call it D2L, but most people refer to it as the Learning Hub. And the Learning Hub is really probably the most important thing to know in advance of your course starting, because that's where all the material and that's how you're going to access your courses through the Learning Hub. So Maddie and Maria are going to walk us through the Learning Hub and what a course looks like in the different tabs and different sections where you find information on the Learning Hub. And then I'm going to give you some tips from an instructor on how to be an effective online learner and how that's a little bit different maybe than the traditional face-to-face classroom. So when we're in an online environment, it takes a little bit different skills. And then you're going to hear from the student side as well with some practical tips on how to improve your performance in an online environment. And then questions and answers. So if questions that you have, feel free to type them into the Q&A box at any time. And then we'll also go through at the end any unresolved questions that people might have. And then we'll have some closing comments as well for us. So let's start tonight with a quick poll and just see our comfort level or our experience in online learning. So got a quick poll here. Have you ever taken an online class before? So you can make your selection and vote. Okay, yeah, that's great. So, you know, the votes are coming in with a strong majority of no, I've never taken an online course before. So you're definitely going to enjoy the next hour, and you're finding it very useful because it's going to not make you quite so intimidated when you see the Learning Hub for the first time. So that's great. We have one other poll question too. Have you ever used Zoom platform for a call or a presentation before today? So have you had exposure using Zoom, or today is your first time you've used it? Okay, so you guys are pretty experienced Zoomers, it looks like. Zoom is one of the platforms that instructors will use at BCIT for live streaming lectures in class. And also some instructors will use another platform called Bongo. And we'll show you the difference. And there's also a webinar series coming up later, which is going to go over those in greater detail. Tonight, we're just kind of giving you a quick overview of the system, but you'll be able to access those through email links provided by your instructor or through the Learning Hub directly. So at this point, I think what I'll do is turn it over to Maddie, and Maddie and Maria can walk us through what the Learning Hub actually looks like.
Yes, thank you, David. Okay, so if you can see here, this is the home page of your Learning Hub. So when you log on, they'll have some student resources that are available right here, along with any support if you're needing. There's lots of different services that you can choose here, and then it will show you all the courses that you have been enrolled in. So I can see here with mine, all of the courses that I've ever taken, which is great because you can look back if you ever need to do so. So we're going to click on your course here, and immediately it takes you right to the news page. So this is where your instructors are going to post all of the immediate information and all the newest things. So this is a great place to check first. Often this will have any videos that are included additional to your lecture, which we'll find later on. So the content tab is where all of the content is stored. So you will have all of your lectures in here, along with all the different parts that they upload for it. So you will have the videos uploaded, your assignments, and then each document for whatever you're doing that week. With these documents, you are able to download them, whether it's slides or a worksheet that you need to fill out, but you're able to download all that onto your computer, which is fantastic. Also underneath content, we have the overview. So often teachers will fill this out, which is a great way to get to know your teacher before you meet him in classes or over Zoom. So this is what our teacher had uploaded. And then often they'll have the schedule. So this can be super helpful, just remembering what time that you have the class at, and it keeps you a little bit more put together. So under activities, these three tabs here are probably the ones that you'll be using the most, your content, activities, and the news feed. So under here, you will find the assignments that you have to submit. This is where you submit them. So they'll explain how to do that, and you can also get your feedback on this one. Often they'll leave a comment saying, you know, the feedback you have on the project. You will also be doing your quizzes through that activities tab. With this, you'll just click here, and then it records everything on the computer, and it automatically saves it, which is super helpful. This is also under Virtual Classroom, where you will have lots of your classes if you're using Bongo. So as you can see here, it records all of the lectures that you've done, and it allows you to view them. So as you can see, once it loads, it'll pop up. And there you go. It has the slides, and then it has the webcam and the audio of the teacher. Going back over here. Often classes will do discussions, which we didn't do this in this class, but you will be able to see all of your classmates' posts that they've put in there, and you'll be able to reply back to each other's threads, and it's a great way to interact with each other. We didn't really use any of the other pieces in here, but depending on what your teacher likes and what they prefer to use, they may use a video assignment or self-assessment, all those things. Under here, you can also find your grades. So they'll have it uploaded onto there, and often they will also have comments and feedback left there. Under your course tools, you'll be able to find your class list. And this will be a list of all of your fellow students. You can click on their names and find their profiles to learn a little bit more about them. We also have the StudyMate. So this is a really cool tool that I personally, I didn't use myself, but I've heard of people that have used it, where you can make flashcards and quizzes, and then you can share them with your classmates, which is a super cool tool. We didn't really use this one too much, but feel free to explore it. Under the My Tools, you can go to My BCIT, and this will take you right over to the other page, which has tons of different information. That's where you'll find your course schedule. It also has your official grades for the end of the semester. Under help, you'll be able to find all your tech help. So this is great for Bongo especially, because if people are having any issues with that, there's lots of frequently asked questions that you can find down here, and tech support for figuring out that type of thing. So up here at the top, we have our message alerts. So often teachers will send out an email to the entire class, saying whatever information, and you'll be able to receive that through here. You will most likely not be able to reply back to your teacher because they aren't able to see it and interact with you through there, but they will give you the preferred email or contact method, which you can then reply through there. We also have our notifications, which currently don't have any, but that will let you know if they've uploaded new assignments or if you have grades out or anything like that. Under your profile, you will want to set this up as soon as you get your Learning Hub, especially since we won't be in class to meet each other. This is a great way to get to know your classmates and see who's there. So you can upload a picture. Also, you can link your social networks. LinkedIn is especially good to link onto there, along with preferred contact information so that people have your email address or phone number. And then some personal information like your hobbies, your career objectives, all sorts of different things, favorite books, favorite quotes, all of these. And this is a great way to just get to know your classmates a bit more. So also under here, we have our notifications. So your teachers will be, every time they upload something, automatically, if you don't change the notifications, you will get a notification for everything sent to your email or text. So with this, you are able to choose what it is that you receive. So if I move this over, we are able to see the ones that I chose to have. So I wanted to have the discussions, my assignments, my grades, and I chose to have those emailed to me, but you can choose text or whatever else. You can also you can choose how often you want to receive these, and then change which email account that they are going to. That is super important to change so you don't get all of the emails. Maria, do you have anything else to add?
I think that's pretty much it for the Learning Hub. But yeah, the one thing to mention is that every instructor is going to be a bit different. So if some instructors might use some of the Learning Hub applications, some of them might not. So it's always good to just explore everything when you get access to your Learning Hub, and just make sure you're familiar with all the different aspects. Then your instructor should give you a bit more information on what exactly they'll be using, and as Maddie mentioned, their preferred method of how to actually contact them, because you can't really do it through the Learning Hub.
Great. Anything from you, David, or shall I pass it back over?
Yeah, I would just say on the Learning Hub, the use of the Learning Hub is going to be a little bit different for each instructor, as Maddie and Maria said. So some instructors are going to post pre-recorded videos. Some are going to be posting more readings that they want you to do, and then respond to discussion questions. So you might, if you're taking multiple courses, you might see different uses of the Learning Hub depending on which course you're taking and how the Learning Hub would best support that particular course. So you're going to see some variations in it. So that's great. If we could go back to the PowerPoint, and we'll move on to some practical tips to help you with the online learning environment. So, you know, face-to-face, when we're all sitting together or standing around in a class, we can more easily communicate, and it's easier sometimes for the instructor to see if the student is having a problem with a particular concept, and it's easier for the student to interact with the instructor as well. So it takes a little bit more effort from both sides of the classroom when we are in an online environment. So we've put together some tips for you to help you be more effective online learner. The first one is create a study routine. So I would say, you know, sit down on Sunday and plan out your week. So when is your class? So is it on Tuesday evenings, or is it on Thursday evenings, or whatever your class is, and make sure you're blocking out an appropriate amount of time. And so a good rule of thumb is if your course is a 3-hour course each week, you're probably going to have about 3 hours of homework in addition to the class time as well, maybe a bit more, just depending on the nature of your course. So, you know, you want to make sure that you're planning out enough time to get the work done. You might want to use a planner of some sort, either digital or paper, but you want to have some kind of organizational home for all your things with a to-do list as well. That way you can keep track of assignments, and when different things are due, you have to post something on the Learning Hub, respond to a discussion, things like that, so nothing will fall through the cracks. Include time for readings and lecture review. So if the instructor is posting pre-recorded lectures they want you to watch in advance before the class, you want to make sure you do that well in advance of when the scheduled class time's coming, so you can kind of let that material sink in. Same with any readings they're asking you to do. So it allows some sync time so that you can ponder and reflect on what you've read or watched. Try and have a standard time of when you are doing your schoolwork, and in that way it'll be easier to create a routine that, you know, like, oh, on Sunday afternoons and Sunday evenings, that's when I'm, you know, doing my coursework. And then make sure you take time for yourself as well. So, you know, people will be juggling multiple courses and maybe some part-time or full-time work as well. And so you make sure you have to schedule some downtime away from the computer. The one, it is intense taking online courses, and being on Zoom calls for a long period of time as well. And so if you're using that at work now, you know that that can be, you know, quite intense to be, you know, focusing so intently on Zoom. And we can move on to, so do your readings in advance of class. So that is important to do. Another one is dress and prepare for class. And so what I mean by this is, you want to treat this as like you're going to be physically in the classroom. So, you know, you want to have your camera on when you're in class, and so you can see the instructor can see you. Same with your classmates, so that's going to be important. And you know, comb your hair and make sure that you look presentable. It's a school of business, and you want to make sure that you're feeling good and putting your best foot forward. When you are preparing for class, one thing when you're taking notes, potentially what you might want to look at doing is sometimes people will take, if they're taking notes on a laptop or a tablet, they'll do a new document for every lecture or every week. And my suggestion would be just have one long running document as opposed to a bunch of individual documents. So just start it with the date or the lecture number, and then just have one long Word document or Google Doc with all your notes. It's easier to review for quizzes, and it just flows better when you're trying to review your notes as opposed to having to open up a whole bunch of separate documents. If you need a good free note-taking software, I recommend Evernote. So it's cloud-based, which is really good. There's no cost for it. You can't lose it, and your notes are always saved. So check out Evernote. So Communicate with your instructor. So if you're struggling with a slow internet connection, or there's something going on in your life that is not allowing you to kind of fulfill your commitment as a student, or you're not understanding maybe some of the concepts that are being talked about in class, send an email to your instructor right away and just say, hey, Dave, I'm having problems with this. Could you explain it another way? And then maybe if I can schedule a call with you, or we can do a short video call, or I can present information in a different way to you. So if you don't reach out to me, I don't know that you're struggling. So you have to take the onus on yourself to be responsible for your own learning in an online environment, and reach out to the instructor if there's something going on in your life that you need them to know. So it is easier for us to help you if we know what's going on. Ask questions. So really important to ask questions. As the lecture and class is going on, it shows that you're engaged with the material. It shows that you have understand some of it, you have questions about other things. So it's important not to sit there quietly in the class, but to engage with the instructor and ask questions. Frequently, the instructor will invite questions, or they may set up times to invite you to office hours where you can come and set up an appointment outside the regular class times. And I would take advantage of that if that's being offered to you, because it's a really good way to clarify understanding of key concepts in a particular course. And the last one is, take time for yourself and make sure that you get away from the screen and get outside and walk around and get some fresh air, and take your dog for a walk too, and get away from all this craziness. Next slide, over to the students for student side tips.
Okay, sweet. Thank you so much. Yeah. So as you had mentioned, like keeping yourself organized is honestly pretty key, whether you're doing your schooling online or not, especially at BCIT. So the first and foremost is to read the course outline. So this kind of gives you a bit more peace of mind, and this makes it so you don't have to ask your instructor as many questions. So you read through it right as you get access to it, write down all the important due dates, write down how much everything is worth, write down anything that might be helpful, especially like your instructor's email, because as mentioned, you can't really email them through the Learning Hub, so they will state the easiest way to reach them, and potentially probably also when their office hours are. So noting down all the important information so you're really ready to start the course. A big thing from learning online is going to be to have a place to study. Doing it from your bed's not going to cut it. It's not, I think, honestly, I thought I could do it. I gave up after 2 weeks. I ended up buying a desk. Going to IKEA during COVID was not fun, let me tell you that much. However, having like somewhere where you can actually set yourself up and kind of have that as your study space, keep yourself productive, helps a lot, whether it's your desk, a kitchen table, make sure that's your work zone, and that makes it so you'll be a little bit less distracted and actually keep yourself on task during however time you have allocated for that specific course. Avoiding binge watching lectures, it's obviously very tempting to want to maybe just say, you know what, I'm just going to cram like 3 weeks worth of lectures in one day. You're going to get information overload, you're going to get exhausted, and you're not going to absorb anything. So as David mentioned, having a specific time of the week blocked off for your specific classes is going to be a lot more beneficial than trying to cram 9 hours worth of lectures in one day. We all know cramming doesn't work. We don't have to pretend it works. It really doesn't. So it's good to try to keep yourself on schedule and give yourself a schedule and a bit of a routine. It also helps you not lose your mind as much. And asking questions is important. It's a lot of information being thrown at you, and learning online is a really different learning environment that most of us aren't used to and weren't used to before this happened, pretty much. So asking a lot of questions, if you're not comfortable asking them during the live lecture, make sure you're emailing your instructor, emailing your classmates, and make sure you really grasp the content of that week, because it's not as interactive as in person, right? So make sure you have everything, and using your instructor's office hours. As you have mentioned, all the instructors at BCIT are awesome. They're all happy to answer your questions. They're all happy to share their expertise. That's why they're there. And also using a planner. So we'll get into this a little bit more in depth in the upcoming workshops about time management, but me and Maddie are a little different. I'm Team Google Calendar, she is Team Physical Calendar. Both are fantastic, but making sure you have something to put down all your due dates, all your information, everything that you might need to know for a course is key. So in my case, I just have a whole separate calendar in my Google Calendar for courses, and then I just use my tasks to do my to-do list for the day. I know Maddie's a huge fan of color coding. We love color coding. However it may be, have something to keep yourself on track, because you will not remember all your due dates. It's impossible, it will never happen. Another thing is group communications. So understandably, obviously in part-time, it's a little bit different, but you still have other people who are taking the course alongside you. You still will have classmates that you can ask questions about, that you can ask if you're not understanding something, if a concept doesn't make sense to you. Sometimes it is a bit more helpful to get a classmate to explain it to you than to ask your instructor again. And you're all in the same struggle bus. It's BCIT, so it's fine. Asking someone who is in the same bus as you trying to get through the course, it's going to be helpful, and to really establish a good connection with your classmates is going to be really key. As Maddie mentioned, looking through, seeing if there's anyone who has shared hobbies and interests over the Learning Hub, kind of make your profile section. You can make some great friends, some great virtual friends at this point, but it's still something. We all love human interaction. Any additions, any questions so far? We haven't gotten any questions so far, and that's okay, but still.
Oh, question just came in.
Yes, fantastic.
I don't have access to my Learning Hub page yet, and I'm wondering if I need to call someone, or will I have access later on? That will come prior to the course start. So if your course is starting in the next 2 weeks and you haven't got access, then definitely send us an email. But if your course starts in September, then don't worry, because it won't be available yet to share with you. And then another question, when accessing or logging into the Learning Hub, yeah, so actually Maddie's got a good tip. Once you get access to the Learning Hub, when you get that email, her recommendation, I'll hand it over to her so she can let you, I'll let you stick into that one.
For sure. So I think we're going off the same thing here, but just make sure you build up your profile, and yeah, get familiar with there. Just go through everything, you know, make sure you know what each tab has, what's available. And as for the part of the question for until when do we have access to our Learning Hub? I don't know. I'm a little surprised that I still have access to it. So I don't know. David, do you know when we lose access to that?
I don't know. That's a great question. I know as an instructor, I can set the availability for courses so that it will sort of disappear out of the student's view after some period of time, and it's sort of individually set by the instructor. And some instructors will structure their course on the Learning Hub, so material is kind of dribbled out each week. So each week material shows up, usually on the same schedule. And some instructors will post all of the information right at the beginning. So you, depending on the instructor and the course that you're doing, you might see a lot of information available immediately in the Learning Hub, or it may be sort of an empty shell and it will just kind of be populated as the course develops. So it's going to be different for different courses. Yeah, so you should get an email from us, I believe, about 2 weeks prior to the course starts. So if you have a course that's starting before that and you haven't heard from us, do let us know.
Another question that we had yesterday that I thought was useful was someone was asking about when are we going to find out what books that we are going to have to get, and are they PDFs online or physical textbooks? With that, you will be finding out about, depends, the teachers will send out a welcome email about a week before the course begins. So often they will tell you what textbooks you will need to get in that email, or they will let you know in the first lecture. So usually you have a little bit of time to get those. Most courses have the option for a physical textbook or an online textbook, and it just depends on what you like. Although often there is a platform that you have to purchase to be able to complete your assignments on. So they will give you further information on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so frequently you'll have a choice if you want to buy a hard copy textbook or an e-copy. And it's obviously nice with an e-copy because then you don't have to lug it around, and it's substantially less expensive. So a lot of the textbook publishers will allow you to rent the book for 120 days or 365 days or permanently. And so for many textbooks, you may just want to have access to it during the course run. So rather than spending $150 on a textbook, it might be, you know, $29 or something like that. So you can save quite a bit of money by using the e-version of a textbook. Okay, we have another question from Anna. I have 3 lecture lab combo classes, so how do I find out if they all are online? If it's a school of business class, it's going to be online pretty much unless it's in broadcast. So most all of the part-time studies courses are all going to be offered online. The standard structure for a part-time studies class in BCIT is 1 3-hour meeting per week. And so it's a combination of a lecture and a lab. So you'll be meeting with the instructor online, and there'll be a component, will be like a traditional lecture period. And then there's going to be a period of what we call a lab period, and that's usually hands-on learning, where you're going to be not hearing about theory necessarily, but more applying with it. So if it was a marketing class, maybe, and we're doing a SWOT analysis, the lecture would be about, you know, this is what a SWOT analysis looks like, and these are the different components. And then we moved into the lab component. The instructor might say, okay, here is a you know, company that we're going to do a SWOT analysis of. So let's do a SWOT analysis of BCIT. And then you're actually working with that real life problem. So it'll be all sort of in one time period, usually over the 3 hours per week. Another question. Does the Institute send the welcome email to our BCIT email or personal email? Good question. I think it starts off, the first one goes to your personal email, and then it encourages you to switch over to your BCIT email quite quickly. I think that's, my daughter just finished a part-time studies course about a month ago, and I believe that was the routine that happened for registration.
Yeah, and also when you do start setting that up, you can link your personal email to your BCIT email, so they end up, like, things end up getting sent to both eventually.
Also, to add to that, there are 2 areas where you can receive emails. You can get it on the Learning Hub or on your My BCIT platform. The My BCIT one is more for the formal emails, like that's where you probably got your acceptance letter. But the other one will have more of the informal ones from your instructor. So I think usually the welcome email goes on to that Learning Hub one.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Maddie, the Learning Hub one is sent through the class list through the Learning Hub, and that's why it shows as a learn. And your instructor might also post the welcome email as a news item on your Learning Hub. So you might be getting it from different angles. But make sure you check your Learning Hub as soon as you have access to it. I don't know if you, sorry, I missed part of today, but I don't know if you've talked about this. You should get access around mid-August.
Great. And I think, are there any more questions people have? Okay, I think that's it for our questions.
Well, those were good questions that I saw. Sorry, I had to zip out. We're having another info session for BCIT as a whole. I had to zip out in there and do a little 3-minute presentation. So, but thank you everybody for joining in. Again, if you know anybody that is a part-time student at BCIT, please remind them to watch the recording. I think this is really valuable into your fall semester in 6 or 7 weeks. So thank you, David. Thank you, Maddie. Thank you, Maria. I think it's really nice to hear from people that are living it, they're working with that content, with that material. So it was super informative for me as well. I learn every time when I listen. And it's nice to get the student perspective for sure. Next week's sessions, everybody, is online virtual teams where you will learn from one of our instructors and from current students as well about best practices for online teamwork. You will be working in teams. So in your PTS course. So that's going to be an important piece of the session next week to let you know what are the best practice when you are put into a team for group work. Other sessions along with the recording can be found at the link. I think Natalie put the link in the chat so you can have a look. There's a lot of interesting sessions still to come up. This is number 3, there's 5 more. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. Anything to add, David, Maddie, and Maria, or Natalie?
No,
We do have our last poll question if we wanted to see how things went for everyone.
See, that's how I don't forget the poll is I ask anything else and then Natalie goes, yes, don't forget this. Okay, so Natalie's gonna put a little poll. We're just wondering if the information today was useful for the group. So if you want to fill that out, that would be greatly appreciated. Although we think it's useful, it might not from another perspective. I'm not sure. Are people filling it out, Natalie?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't see it. Oh, there we go. Oh, yay, thank you. It was useful for a few people, so we really appreciate that. Okay, so thank you for filling this out, everybody. So we really look forward to seeing you in the fall. From David, Natalie, Maddie, Maria, and I would like to wish you a really good evening. Again, thanks for coming. Stay healthy, stay safe, be kind to yourself and others, and we'll see you next week, hopefully. Thank you.
Bye-bye.